I thought to myself, dude, I have to sing every night or every other night. The entertainer Bruno Mars is well known, but no one recognized the young artist who played 1,000 gigs before turning 10, the adolescent who slept in zoos that had been abandoned, the man whose gambling cost him everything. Bruno made the decision to share the entire tale at the age of 39, not only about the money he owes, not just about Jessica leaving, but also about the dark family secret he's carried for decades, the addiction that nearly ended his career, and the childhood tragedy that propelled him to prominence. Everything will be altered by what he disclosed. When the majority of children were still learning to read, Bruno Mars was only 4 years old. In addition to playing with toys, he was already doing 2 shows every night, 5 days a week. He became the star of his family's musical show in Wiki, because he mimicked Elvis Presley's moves like he was born to do so and donned a little glitter jumpsuit. They called him Little Elvis. He was so talented that, in front of 40,000 spectators, he stole the show during the 1990 Aloha Bowl halftime show at the age of 5. He had an appearance on the Arsenio Hall show at age 6. He then earned $600 for a single day of work in the 1992 film Honeymoon in Vegas, where he played a minor part. Later on, he made a joke about it being his first time living in Vegas. He had done about 1,000 gigs before he was even 10 years old. Something deep inside is built by that kind of beginning. Perhaps this explains why he claimed it felt like recess years later when he was practicing for the Super Bowl halftime show. However, life wasn't always that bright. The family performance came to an end when Bruno was 12 years old due to his parents' divorce. All of a sudden, the stage, lighting, and funds were gone. Wherever they could, Bruno, his father, and his brother slept, occasionally on Wiki rooftops, occasionally in a yellow '93 Cadillac, and once even at an abandoned bird zoo where peacocks cried all night long. They would sneak into hotel pools to take a shower because they lacked a proper restroom frequently. 7-Elevens, Spam musubi served for dinner. They were left without electricity for 5 months. Their inability to purchase amplifiers led him to practice his guitar by moonlight. Children at school made fun of him for dressing in secondhand clothing, but Bruno persisted. He was able to pay for demo recordings and bus fare by earning $75 per night by mimicking Michael Jackson. He was hardened from that struggle. After hearing his demo in 2003, record labels said he would become the next Ricky Martin. His singing in Spanish was what they desired. He didn't write in Spanish, but that wasn't what he wanted. Being a Latin artist, according to a label, was not what he wanted. So he chose Bruno, a name from his early years. Bruno, a well-known wrestler, was the target. He also included Mars. Why? Because he was so certain that you must be from Mars, a female once told him. He was 18 when he relocated to Los Angeles in June 2003. Only 603 demo CDs, and the name Bruno Mars, scrawled on his luggage tag, were with him as he got off the plane. He lived in 4 different places during his first year, including a small studio in Koreatown, with 6 other people, and a $40 per night motel on Sunset. Despite never having touched DJ equipment, he lied his way into a DJ position on Van NY Boulevard in order to survive. After 2 nights, he lost his job, but the $75 he earned kept his phone from shutting off. There were weeks throughout that summer when he just ate 99-cent Jack-in-the-Box tacos. He received an offer from Motown in February 2004. The length of it was just 3 pages. "I've seen breakfast menus thicker than that," Bruno said. The label was unsure on how to handle him. A Latin pop vocalist was what they desired. They let him go 9 months later without putting out a single song. It was embarrassing. Although that failure proved to be fortunate, he had already informed his folks back home that he had been signed. Philip Lawrence was another artist who stopped by Martown at the same time. The pair grew close. They committed to creating music that would be too good for record labels to overlook. Bruno and Philip were impoverished but determined by 2006. In the back of Philip's beat-up, they composed music. '99 Toyota Corolla parked in front of a tiny Hollywood studio. The studio was run by Ari Levine. He had equipment. Philip and Bruno had concepts. In exchange, they would purchase him 7-Eleven burritos. Every time a beat or chord felt nice, they would exclaim, "That's a Smee." They came to be known as the Smeezingtons. They analyzed popular songs and learned how to write their own for 10 hours every day, 6 days a week. Before releasing a single song, they examined over 1,000. Then Bruno's sister, took over. She gave one of his demo CDs to a man called Mike Lynn while she was employed in the fashion industry in West Hollywood. Dr. Dre employed Mike. He nearly threw the CD away at first because the voice sounded strange, like a chipmunk. However, Mike stopped and rewinded when Bruno hit a high note at 43 seconds in. He took Bruno to Record One Studios for a meeting. Although they didn't make a deal offer, Bruno felt greatly encouraged that someone significant had taken notice. Being seen by the right person might make all the difference in Los Angeles. They made a song for themselves called Lost to Menudo and sold it for $20,000 to make ends meet. It was barely enough to keep them from being evicted. However, writing the chorus for Florida's Right Round was their big break. In its first week of release, the single sold 636,000 downloads and peaked at number 1. At the time, that record was digital. After that, they wrote Nothing on You by Bobo, which became another smash. Bruno contributed to the creation of tracks that had already sold over 15 million downloads by the time he released Just the Way You Are in 2010. Bruno Mars didn't suddenly become well-known. It's Better If You Don't Understand. A Blink and You Miss It EP marked the start of his solo career. It was only 13 minutes long, contained only 4 songs, and was released on May 11, 2010, with almost any publicity. By the end of 2011, it had only sold 27,000 copies in the United States. It appeared insignificant, perhaps forgotten. However, the tunes that would form the foundation of something far larger were concealed within that brief EP. He published Doo-Wops and Hooligans in October 2010, just 5 months later. That one was quite powerful. The record, which was produced on a $70,000 budget without the use of samples, went 7 times platinum in the US and sold over 15 million copies worldwide. By 2020, it remained on the official albums chart for 400 weeks in a row in the UK alone. That's over 8 years, longer than Thriller or Abbey Road. The singles followed. Just the Way You Are, his debut single, debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 on August 7, 2010, and it only took 8 weeks for it to reach number 1, 13 times platinum, and was on the chart for 48 weeks. It was one of the top 25 digital tracks ever, with 6.7 million downloads in the US alone. Grenade followed. During its busiest week, 559,000 downloads were made. At the time, it was the 8th largest weekly total in music history. It did more than only reach the top spot in the US. It was at the top of 15 countries' charts. It didn't end there, either. Only 5 other songs have ever achieved 3 consecutive number 1 Billboard positions, which Grenade achieved between January and March 2011. Bruno had 2 singles with over 5 million certified US sales by March 2011. Lady Gaga was the only other performer to accomplish it before to him. The music business took note. During his debut, he received 7 Grammy nominations, including Album and Record of the Year. Since Lauryn Hill, no male solo debut had merited that. Even though he didn't win the most important categories, his song, Just the Way You Are, won Best Male Pop Voice. He was the youngest guy to get that honor since Stevie Wonder in 1974, and he was only 25. He was soon listed as one of Billboard's top 100 artists. He even outperformed Adele's Les Tears Surge as the 2011 best-selling worldwide musician. According to the IFBI, he wasn't finished, though. Locked Out of Heaven was released in October of 2012. It debuted slowly, peaking at number 34 on the charts. After that, it ascended. It reached number 1 in just 11 weeks and remained there for 6 weeks in a row, from December 22, 2012, until January 26, 2013. Bruno became the first male solo singer to earn 4 Hot 100 numbered ones in his first 2 years of performing. Since Bobby Vinton in 1964, not even Michael Jackson did it. Sales also kept up. In just 10 weeks, the song had 1 million downloads in the US and was 10x platinum. Later, the number of Spotify streams surpassed 1.8 billion. It was unexpected by critics. The police renaissance, as Rolling Stone put it, was something that everyone needed but no one ordered. The EDM monotony that had taken over the charts was broken up by that reggae rock beat. Bruno changed the entire pop radio sound in under 4 minutes. Unorthodox Jukebox wasn't originally intended to be crazy. Bruno and his group covertly broadened the label's expectations for the record, which was to be a tight, snappy dance track. They experimented with 9 different genres and stretched a budget. The label went into a panic, releasing everything from the disco sheen of Treasure to Gorillaz' Daring, sensual rock, and even reggae with Show Me. An album this crazy wouldn't be played on the radio. According to one memo, Bruno refused to give up. In order to purchase vintage equipment and live horns, he even forfeited 4% of his future royalties. The gamble paid well. The album sold 6 million copies worldwide in less than a year. The critics were taken aback. According to Spin magazine, it was like rummaging through a jukebox at 3 in the morning, erratic yet captivating. Additionally, artists like Dua Lipa and Harry Styles would subsequently imitate Bruno's genre-blending style. There were even more fireworks at the 2014 Grammys. Unorthodox Jukebox took up 2 prizes, including Best Pop Vocal Album. More than 120 distinct audio tracks were used in each song. According to engineers, this was more than any other nominee. That year, including Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, someone complained to the FCC about a 0.6-second clip of Bruno thudding his chest during his gorilla show that same evening. It was intended to resemble a gorilla. He was placed in the 2015 Guinness World Records for the shortest televised act to result in an obscenity review, but no fine was imposed. Sales surged following the Grammy Awards. Unconventional Jukebox saw a 171% increase in the Billboard 200 since Alanis Morissette in the 1990s. That was one of the biggest boosts to Grammy Week. Next up was Uptown Funk. It began as a jam session in a temporary studio on May 1, 2014. Mark Ronson still has a voice memo with the first version recorded on it in his mailbox. After 11 authors and 5 legal entanglements, the finished song was released on November 10, 2014. It immediately shot to the top and remained there for 14 weeks, from January 17 to April 18, 2015. Prior to the release of Old Town Road, that was the decade's longest #1 run at its height. The song received 300,000 downloads every week and 15 million daily streaming worldwide. It became the fastest-selling jazz-influenced single in the UK since I Feel Good in 1965, after surpassing 1 million sales in 10 weeks. They were enamored. The month it became their boarding song, Delta Airlines even recorded a 37% spike in first-class drink orders. Uptown Drunk was the name given to it by someone at the airline. In a 2015 broadcast, the BBC even used the song's speed to teach CPR. But his next big move nearly fell through. In 2016, Bruno submitted to 4K Magic, but the label wasn't impressed. It was shorter than some EPs, with only 9 tracks and a duration of 33 minutes. Bruno, however, was adamant. He wanted it to sound like a skip-free party mixtape from the 1990s. It won big in the Grammy Awards, which were held on January 28, 2018, only the second R&B album of the century to achieve that feat. 4K Magic took home the awards for album, single, and song of the year. In a single evening, he took home 6 honors. The outcomes were instantaneous. That's What I Like streams increased by 130%. Additionally, the song became 7 times platinum. Although the album never peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200, it has sold over 5 million copies worldwide by April 2018. The subsequent tour was as crazy. The 4K Magic World Tour began in Antwerp on March 28, 2017, and it concluded in Honolulu on December 30, 2018. It featured 215 performances across 6 continents. He sold 48,483 tickets in Auckland, New Zealand, breaking Beyoncé's previous record by 4,100 more than her 2016 performance. By the end of the tour, 367.7 million had been made and 3.5 million tickets had been sold. That put it in the top 10 highest-grossing tours of all time. It even surpassed Lady Gaga's Monster Ball and YouTube's original Joshua Tree tour. Every single song on 4K Magic was meticulously composed. The title tracks, Talkbox Beginning, referenced 1987's Computer Love. The silky synths on the Versace floor reverberated with Babyface's 1994 hits. A 25-year-old console was used to mix the Cardi B and Finesse remix in order to replicate the early 1990s sound. The 9 tracks weren't even chosen at random. According to Bruno, Bobby Brown's Don't Be Cruel, his favorite cassette, included 9 tracks on each side. It was praised by critics. Some dubbed the album pop's most valuable history lesson, while others said it was responsible for reintroducing funk to the general public during a period when EDM drops were the rage. He still had more surprises. For some reason, in less than 30 minutes, Bruno recorded the hook for Gucci Mane's Wake Up in the Sky in September 2018. The song was released on September 14th. It has staying power even though it peaked at number 11. It became 6 times platinum and received 1.4 billion Spotify streams by July 2025. Surpassing the top 1 hits of that year.